to the American Warrior Radio, 1300 on your AM dial, WMEL, and online at 1300WMEL.com. Sponsored by AZ Project. Can I live again? No, no, it's real. It was horrifying life on the battlefield. Seen a lot of suits down on the front lines. Bombs going off on the drive-by. Can I live again? No, no, it's real. It was horrifying life on the battlefield. Seen a lot of suits down on the front lines.
Bring it up again, we'll vote on it. Welcome to another exciting edition of American Warrior Radio, the place to be for news, notes, interviews, and current events for all issues military and veteran related. If you or someone you know has ever worn the uniform of the U.S. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, or National Guard or Reserves, you've come to the right place. American Warrior Radio, right here on the Talk to Me station, AM 1300 WMEL, and online worldwide at 1300WMEL.com, sponsored by AZ Project. Folks, this program is all about supporting our troops and their families, both past and present. So please, get comfortable, grab a nice cold beverage, because it is hot out there. No matter where you're listening, I think the entire United States is experiencing a heat wave. And we do appreciate everybody that's listening in other places other than the Space Coast of Florida. Grab a pen and paper as well, because we're always efforting to bring you important information that you can use and share with others. Today's no different, folks. And listen, let's roll down the runway and get this show off the ground. You all know me. I'm Garen Cohn. I'm an Air Force veteran, a retired legal advocate for veterans, and founder of AZ Project. But you also know that I never fly through the airwaves alone.
Good morning. I'm Glenn McGuffey. I'm retired Air Force, and I'm also retired as the manager of the Brevard County Veteran Services team, where it was my honor to help our veterans and their eligible family members for 22 plus years. And we're here bringing you a wonderful show. If you heard me yesterday in my promo, we've done a little change here.
A pleasant change.
A very great change, and we've got a very special guest today. But before that, Garen, let's kick it off with what's this? The bosun's call.
You know, we always want to hear what's going on with our local Coast Guard station at Port Canaveral, so let's get ready for a bosun's call. On the line with us now is Commander B. Perry of the Coast Guard Station, Port Canaveral. B, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us a little bit today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I know you are, because you got some incredible news to share. Earlier this month, we had Coast Guard Day out at the port, and a lot of your troops and their families, some 500 plus, were able to visit with us, and we fed and entertained them. But while that was going on, you had some other duties to attend to. Why don't you share with us what was going on up in Michigan?
Yeah, well, first I want to say thanks to AZ Project, the USO, Navy League, Navy Federal, our Coast Guard Auxiliary for coming through like you guys always do. I mean, that was a great event at the station. Everybody had a great time. Unfortunately, I wasn't there. I had a really great honor of participating in Coast Guard City USA's Coast Guard Festival in Grand Haven, Michigan, and it was kind of a lifelong dream for me, and I was really proud to be there and to actually kind of show off the other parts of the Coast Guard.
Well, tell us a little bit about that, because you're a career coastie, and you hadn't been to this Coast Guard City USA prior to this event?
I've been up there a few times. My wife's family's from up there, and we've been going off and on since the mid-'90s. And if you've never been there to see what they do for the Coast Guard there, it's unreal. This whole thing started in the early 1900s, and with the formation of the U.S. Lifesaving Service in Grand Haven, and it started out as just a little picnic. Kind of like what we have there at the station in Canaveral.
Sure.
Now it goes for about 10 days to celebrate the Coast Guard. couple hundred people that were torpedoed and ships that were torpedoed, but the Escanaba actually got torpedoed, and 101 souls were lost on that ship.
Wow.
Only 2 survivals. So you can imagine what a small town felt like whenever 100 of their citizens pretty much were gone. So they conduct a big memorial service for the remembrance of that Coast Guard cutter Escanaba that was stationed in Grand Haven, and for all those fallen in the Coast Guard. And it's that memorial service has just kind of spiraled into this great stuff to celebrate what the Coast Guard does for our country.
Well, for those of us that are geographically challenged, can you give us kind of a fix of where this celebration takes place in Michigan?
It's on the west side of Michigan. It's probably, I think it's about 3 hours from Chicago north, on the east side of Lake Michigan.
Okay, and what about the vessels? Are there any home-ported vessels there or nearby that belong to the Coast Guard?
There's vessels all over in the Great Lakes, and this time they had the Coast Guard cutter Hollyhock, Biscayne Bay, all the visiting ships that came in. They actually had a vessel from the Canadian Coast Guard there normally, and what it does is just a big celebration for that whole area. As you know, the Coast Guard icebreakers up there, they stayed busy until May of this year. So.
What's an icebreaker?
Yeah, exactly. Well, believe it or not, it was kind of funny. We got there. We left. I flew into Grand Rapids, Michigan, and I think the heat index down here was 107 when I left. I got up there, and it was in the 60s.
Oh, wow.
The Great Lakes had just turned over, so the water went from about 60 degrees to 45 degrees, I think it was. So I was not going into that water, I'll tell you that.
Which, that's just another facet of what the Coast Guard does, is break ice for navigation channels, right? So the ships can go through.
That's exactly what they do up there. This is one of the busiest years in the last 10 for ice breaking all over. Like I said, they were still breaking ice in May up there to open up the shipping channels. And also, the city of Grand Haven, it's a small town. I would say the whole Main Street is probably, if anybody's been down to Cocoa Village, the Main Street in Grand Haven kind of reminds me of Cocoa Village. It's about that size. And the population, in the wintertime, maybe 10,000 people, if that. Well, there's over 350,000 people that come to this festival.
Oh my. And I know you're too modest to say this yourself, but you were honored at Coast Guard City USA Coast Guard Day up there. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it was great. I got to ride the parade along with the Commandant of the Coast Guard, the brand new Commandant, Admiral Newcoff, the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Coast Guard, and you got this Chief Warrant Officer from Port Canaveral riding the parade along with us. I felt like one of those guys in Wedding Crashers.
Yeah, for sure. But you had a good time, and like you said, there was some 300,000 folks. And if anybody's interested, I know there are just tons of pictures available on the website up there. Just Google Coast Guard City USA, and you're going to see a lot of the parade events and other things, because it wasn't just a parade. It was a well-rounded celebration of the Coast Guard.
It's a 10-day event. They honor our retirees, enlisted. They have a big enlisted dinner. It really shows appreciation for our mission, and a lot of the services we have balls, and like the Marine Corps ball and the Navy ball.
Sure.
The Coast Guard's a little bit different. I think I've been in one Coast Guard ball in my whole career. Most of our celebrations are with the public that we serve. It seems like starting, like I said, with those picnics, and it's pretty informal. It's kind of let's get together and show our appreciation for the public as well while we do these celebrations of what we do. And we also, like I said, there were over I think they counted, one of the ships had 10,000 people go through for tours during that time. it's just an incredible event. And if anybody, any coaches out there that's never been, you've got to go. I told this story to Commander Mike Smith. He's the festival chair up there and director of the festival. I said, when I first joined the Coast Guard, I was stationed in Puerto Rico and then in South Florida. And at that time, in the early 90s, you couldn't wear your uniform. You didn't wear your uniform outside of base because of the situation and things going on with our drug war and that.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Right. I go to Michigan and I'm visiting some family with my wife, and there's this guy in uniform walks into this coffee shop that my wife and I were in, and I'm like, what is this guy doing? Has he lost his mind? And then it dawned on me, up there was no threat. It was just people embraced that. The Coast Guard is the community there.
Outstanding. Hey, before we let you go, I wanted to ask you briefly about change of command here that just happened with Captain Passarelli. It's the guys and gals out there from the Coast Guard Cutter Confidence showed up in their dress whites. It was just a phenomenal event. Tell us a little bit about the new commander, the new captain of the boat.
Well, it's funny, the other day, the commander's getting ready. They're getting ready for one of his patrols. So he's pretty busy being that his first trip on this ship. And I joked with the military affairs council the other day that he's still trying to find the stern. He just took over. He's a great guy. I think he's going to be good for the community. He's going to come in here and help out. And man, we are sure going to miss Captain Passarelli. What a great guy that guy is. Always involved in events. I know he's actually called in on this show from at sea, and I'm sure Commander will follow up with that. But I think Commander Garth is going to be great. Like I said, right now they're a little busy because they're going to get ready to go downrange and do the mission in the Caribbean.
Well, that's great, and we're so proud of you to get that honor at Coast Guard City. I didn't even know there was a Coast Guard City, so I learned quite a lot there. Any last words for us, Commander?
Yes, sir. I got a few things. I want to let people know that they can go to Coast Guard or cgaux.org if they're looking for a boating safety class. It's important if you have a boat, you might want to go on that website. You can put in your zip code and find a boating safety class near you. Also, if you want to read about, there's a couple of stories on there that the Commandant left on uscg.mil about his trip to Grand Haven, Michigan. That was actually his first time there. And also, over at the Coast Guard Station, Port Canaveral on Trooper Road, you can come and see Art at our Coast Guard Exchange. If you're a retiree, active duty, come and see us over there. Art's got some good stuff in there, and we always like to see people other than the Coast Guard come in there. So you're welcome to come by and see what Art's got for you at the Coast Guard Exchange.
Awesome. Hey, Commander, thanks for sharing a few minutes with us today on American Warrior Radio. You're a trooper, and I'm glad you had a good time up there, and I know we're going to be checking in with you again because there's always something going on at the Port Canaveral Coast Guard Station. So thank you, sir, and you have a great week.
Hey, thanks, Garen. Glenn, appreciate it. You guys take care. And one more thing, just keep an eye on the weather. If you haven't been watching, there's something spinning out there. We hope it doesn't affect us, but it's something we need to take a look at.
Good advice. Good advice as always, sir. You have a great day.
Thanks, Garen.
Everybody, that was your commander of the Coast Guard Station, Port Canaveral, B. Perry, calling in for a bosun's call. He likes to do that regularly, about a couple times a month, if not more. And we'll have some 920th Rescue Wing runway reports coming up on future episodes of American Warrior Radio. So you always want to tune your dial to AM 1300 WMEL every Saturday from 11 to noon. Not just for this program, but all the fine programming here on WMEL. But certainly, if you have any interest in military or veterans issues, you share this information with your friends here in Central Florida and beyond, because we have a lot of listeners and viewers on 1300WMEL.com. And I'll share right now, if you're interested in more of what we're talking about, go to some of our social media platforms, whether it's Facebook, just do this, avetproject.org. Glenn, what's AVET stand for?
American Veterans Empowerment Team, and it is, in my opinion, the best not-for-profit organization supporting veterans and their families in Brevard County and other places.
Exactly, and look, folks, we're all volunteers. If you're interested in volunteering, you can do so. Just go to the site, click on the Contact or Volunteer tab. Nobody's getting a paycheck here. If you're involved with AVET Project, it's because you want to be and you want to help out our troops and their families. So check out the various social media platforms. Always something going on. You can check out episodes of American Warrior Radio that are archived on 1300 WMEL, and we do it in MP3 format, so it's easy to share. Plus, all these interviews, all of our broadcasts are up on YouTube and in the other social media platforms. So go to avetproject.org, lower left corner, click on the Facebook tab, and it'll take you right there, and also American Warrior Radio. I want to get a quick shout out to a longtime volunteer with AVET Project who has been challenged with the Ice Bucket Challenge. Sheena in Hawaii, I know you're listening, so get ready. Get that ice in that bucket, and I want to see the video, all right? And that goes for Colonel McCrander with the 920th Rescuing. And Rams, Flores, you're over there deployed in the sandbox right now. The challenge is out for you also. Yes, ALS is benefiting, and we're going to talk to somebody that can speak about how important it is we recognize our veterans and the challenges they're going through with their health care in just a moment. But I want everybody out there to recognize that if you are a veteran, and God forbid you get the diagnosis of ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease, you have 100% service-connected disability compensation from the day you are diagnosed. Unfortunately, the outcome of that diagnosis isn't good, but that's why the VA recognizes it. There's some talk going around the internet right now because of all this Ice Bucket Challenge stuff. I want all you informed listeners, Glenn, I mean, this is what we're doing. We're bringing them the truth, right?
That's right, and as regards the ALS diagnosis, I particularly run across this for people who are getting their health care from the VA. If your VA doctor diagnoses you, unfortunately, with ALS, that does not mean you have a claim. You still have to file a claim to get that 100% rating that Garen is talking about. And that 100% rating, depending on the size of your family, is $3,000 or more a month, tax-free.
And that's the seriousness of the issue. But with all that stuff out there, I just need everybody out there in American Warrior Radio land to know, if you know of a vet or you are a vet and you get that diagnosis, you need to file a claim. The incidence of ALS among veterans is so high that the National Institutes of Health recognized this under, I think it was Secretary Peake at the time, about 6 years ago in 2008. Hey, enough about that. I'm excited about our in-studio guest. Folks, you just don't know how important it is to bring guests that have something legitimate to share with you. And we often bring experts in their field, and today is no different, because in studio with us right now, we have Major from the Army. He was in the Army, and now he's a oncologist, Dr. Todd Panarese from Cancer Care Centers of Brevard, joining us. Doctor, thank you so much for being here today.
It is great to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Well, we appreciate it, honestly, because, again, it's about bringing some good information out to the folks in American Warrior Radio land. Before we get into all the meat of the matter here, can you give us a little bio, where you were born and raised, where you were educated, kind of go along those terms?
Sure. I was born in New York. I lived on Long Island for pretty much most of my life. My parents, my family was all up there. And, we lived the Long Island lifestyle with the weather and everything else. But anyway, I graduated high school in 1981, and I went to Manhattanville College, which is a small college in Westchester County, north of New York City, about 30 miles north. And from there, I knew I wanted to go to medical school. And so I applied and got into New York Medical College, which is also up in Westchester County. And I got involved with the Army because there was a program at the time, and I think it's still in existence, that if you agree to be a soldier or airman or whatever in the military for whatever the length of their contract would be, they would pay for your medical school. And so I found that very attractive, not only for the benefit of that obligation, but because I wanted to be in the Army. I wanted to do that. It wasn't something that I was forced to do because I needed the money. I got into a number of schools, in fact, that were state schools that were relatively inexpensive. I got into some other expensive schools that were very prestigious. But I wanted to go to this school, and I wanted to go into the Army with that scholarship. So I said, to heck with the cheap schools, I'm going in this way. And then, when I graduated college, I became a second lieutenant. I was technically in the reserves during the time through school. They would require me to go to active duty during the summertime if I can get away. So I wound up going to Fort Campbell, for my officer basic, and then I wound up at Tripler for 1 year. I wound up at Walter Reed for one summer, for part of a summer. One summer I was not able to get away, just couldn't do it. But it was a great experience. I mean, I got to go look at all these places and be in the Army and do all kinds of fun stuff prior to coming on active duty. So when I graduated in 1989, that's when I came on active duty and went to they call it Fort Sam Houston, Brooke Army Medical Center back then, back in the old Brooke Army Medical Center. And I was there for 3 years doing internal medicine, finished there, and then at that time we were coming out of the first Gulf War. And so the spots for postgraduate education were sort of slim because all the GMOs were coming back from the desert, and they had first opportunity to get those. So we had a bunch of residents who had no place to go. I actually wanted to go to Korea, and they said no.
They wanted you here.
Yeah, they said no, I can't go to Korea. It was stunning. So I wound up at Fort Riley, which was a great spot actually with the 1st Infantry Division. I was there until 1996. Met some great people, had a great time, and then from 96 is when I ETS'd out.
Well, the takeaway there is you did your undergrad and then you recognized you wanted to go to medical school, and the Army, as you said, still has programs available, as do the other branches of service, that will help, that will pay basically through scholarship for you to go to medical school, and as long as you live up to the obligation you have after that. So what advice would you give somebody that's maybe a pre-med student right now that is, tinkering with the idea that they want to join the service? Still a good idea?
I think they should pursue it. If they're looking for some sort of excitement in that way, I mean, you get your education paid for. Yes, you will have an obligation to serve in sometimes not the best of places, sometimes in very good places. But if you have that sense of duty, I think they should pursue it.
Folks, we're talking with Dr. Todd Panarese. He was in the Army, he was a major in the medical corps, and he's got a lot more to share with us. We're coming up on a break here, but I just want to again let you all know, stay tuned, and I want you to call your friends, because you're not going to get information like this. One of our most viewed, the most interest of any of our programming is coming up. It's about Agent Orange exposure and the cancers and other diseases related to that, and we're also going to touch on Persian Gulf War syndrome and the illnesses associated with that. So don't go anywhere. As a matter of fact, why don't you pick up your phone and call all your friends and neighbors and tell them to dial us up on AM 1300 WMEL or online at 1300 WMEL. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back